Yo, this is Mr. Drake Swan, and this is Swan's Purview, where we discuss life, culture, and growth for the modern black man. Whew. First, let me apologize, okay? Gentlemen, ladies, if you are here with us, allow me to apologize because I understand and I know it has been a long couple of months since my last video. A lot has been happening, okay? A lot has been happening in the world, but a lot has also been happening in my personal life, okay? So allow me a few moments to unpack and discuss what has transpired in the last few months. First, starting off, your guy, man, your boy has gone back to school. I'm currently in grad school, pursuing my MBA at Prairie View University. Yep. Shout out to PV. That is a journey that essentially started back in 2014. I attempted to get my master's in leadership, got sick, couldn't finish. Then in 2019, I tried to get a master's in accounting because most of you all know I'm an accountant. And while there were no issues technically with me personally, well, yes, there were. I mean, I was going through a separation and later a divorce. It just wasn't the time. It wasn't there. Couldn't complete the program. Was in a big transition in life. I'm having to move from state to state, so just didn't finish it. And I'm to be completely honest, I never wanted to pursue a master's in accounting in the first place. That was always a fallback plan. I always wanted to get an MBA. That was always the goal, and God aligned it so here in 2024 that I could do it. I could obtain rather, or attempt to attain it again. So here I am. One semester down, and we rocking and rolling with that. The next thing that happened was the significant other and I purchased the house. Yeah, so officially we are, I mean, yes, we were already living here in Atlanta, but we are permanent residents of the outskirts of Atlanta. Yeah, we officially call Atlanta Metro home now, at least for the next few years. Yeah, and also with purchasing said house, we had to move into the house. Um, and man, that was a huge task. Like a lot goes into moving into a home, making a house a home. Yeah, so we enjoyed that process, but I understand that anything extra would have been a distraction to that process. So I gave my full attention to that. I mean, yeah, so then there was dealing with the life issues that honestly I just knew I had grown beyond. Um, Speaking very candidly, there has been a lot of fuckery going on in these last few months. I just knew I had gotten beyond that. That's part of life, but apparently I am not immune to it. So, yeah, I'm not immune. Moving back on, well, moving along, um, we have been in the process of planning the wedding. Those of you all who remember or are privileged to the information that goes out about us on social media, we have our wedding coming up June 7th of 2025, and essentially now we're about 6 months out, just right at the 6 month mark. So yeah, it's time to tighten up. So we've been doing all that, and then of course getting through the holiday season. Man, my significant other, actually I can go back further. My bonus daughter, her birthday is in September. My actual daughter's birthday in September. My mom's birthday is in October. My significant other's, her birthday is in November. Then of course November brings on Veterans Day, which is a holiday to me. Okay, which is a real holiday, but it is also my holiday. Okay, I celebrate that. Then of course there's Thanksgiving, and you add Christmas and all the festivities that go along with that. And I'm married to a pastor, for those of you who don't know. So this is essentially her busy season. You know, as an accountant myself, I have a busy season. If I was in private sector, which will be in February and March, but because I'm in government, my busy season is September and October, where her busy season is November, December, okay? So yeah, let's move right along to the next section. The next section for today, the next thing is discussing or introducing you all to, if you have not heard, the soundtrack of the week, okay? The soundtrack of the week is Hood to Hood by Nas from his King Disease 3 album. Man, when I tell you I can listen to this song back to back to back to back. As a matter of fact, I can listen to the album on rotation all the time. As a matter of fact, I can listen to all 3 of said albums all the time on rotation. As a matter of fact, I do listen to all 3 albums in conjunction with the 444 album by Jay-Z, Victory Lap by Nipsey, and a few other people. But those albums are on high rotation here in the Swan household, man. I'm sure my wife is sick of hearing all those albums, but specifically the soundtrack of this week is From Hood to Hood by Nas on the King Disease 3 album, which actually brings us to the episode for today. The topic we are discussing today is community, specifically community amongst ethnically black men. Yes, we're talking about community among ethnically black men. I mean, I know that ethnic is a huge word, but specifically I'm discussing, or I'm talking about, black people who are in the American diaspora, right? Those of us who were affected by the transatlantic slave trade, and who, when we check demographic boxes here in America, we have to check black or some version of black or African American. That's specifically what I'm talking about. But this does not negate or distract from others. But I'm specifically talking about those of us, or talking to, those of us who've come through that situation. I say it like that. Because we seem to be the ones who are affected the most when it comes down to the lack of community. Everyone else, generally speaking, has a community. When I look at our brothers of direct African descent, who are first generation or second generation here in America, they literally a tight-knit group, man. I got a few homies, afar and close, who are really, really tapped into their community, and you never see them isolated. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but generally speaking, within our community, coming from where we come from, coming from where I come from specifically, isolation is a really, really big thing. We, typically speaking, are treated as if we're an island, and I, for one, don't believe we are, or we should be. I personally believe that God created us to do life in the community, and it's our job to get back to that, even though there are forces that are pushing against us to be a community. Specifically, or going into said forces, or some of said forces, because there are so many things, so many agencies. But we know here on January 20th, Trump is taking back office again. And if you have been hiding under a rock and you don't know what that exactly means, or what has been going on, this is not the place where I'm going to do a full recap. I'm not. I'm sure you can get some level of education from my social media page, Mr. Drake Swan, because generally speaking, my story goes ham with political rhetoric. I do put out there exactly how I think and how I feel about things. So if that's the level of education you want, then you can most definitely get that from my social media page. I'm not going to specifically cover that right now here today. But with that said, no fear mongering going on right now. But we do know he has packed his cabinet with people who authored and believe in Project 2025. Okay? It is no longer just conjecture. It's no longer just speculation. Like, we truly know this is a real thing now. And no need to place the blame game. I'm not going to point any fingers at who did what or who could have done more. None of that. But we are about that action over here. Strictly about that action, boss. Okay? So let's get into it, right? First off, from a historical context, like I've already kind of touched on it briefly, but to bring it home, black men have been the most divided group in history, okay? It is what it is. Whether it has been because of slavery, to the drugs and gang violence, to religion and classism, there has been a number of things standing against us and making it hard for us to stand together. That's just been our reality, right? Just touching on the lesser form of classism with our little brothers and ourselves when we were in high school and middle school, and what we had to endure with, oh, he got the new joints, oh, but he got on Bobos, as my wife would say, because that's where she's from, they say Bobos. Well, where I'm from, we say Fugazis. I mean, his shoes are Fugazi, which brought on a whole other class of isolation and segregation within our own communities, right? But speaking on that, man, even our heroes, right? The upper echelon of who we were or who we are as beings couldn't come together. And I'm speaking about Malcolm and Martin. Like, even they were separated in life, right? So, like, there are real life forces that are trying their best to keep us, black men specifically, from being united together in community. But all of that ends now, man. Like, I personally feel as though God has aligned it so that is our time. Like, yes, this is a call to action. This is a war cry. At the same time, though, I'm not beating the drums telling you to pick up no guns, right? I'm not telling you to get your spear together and go on a warpath. I am saying get your tools together, though, right? Because now we do have the tools. We do have the agency to be who it is God has called us to be, right? Specifically, right? I'm using the word specifically a lot. But right now, I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you directly from my cell phone. I'm being able to tap right into your viewing pleasure from my office here in my home. I have my notes directly in front of me on my laptop. Like, speaking of laptop, like, I can research, I can network. There are so many things I can do right now that I couldn't do even 10 years ago. Martin didn't have the level of access that I have now. The level of agency that you and I have now is unmatched in any other time in history. So we have no excuse. The time literally is now for us to make our move and take our community, to be a community and to build our community, right? So I have a small plan, nothing major. As a matter of fact, it's not even my plan. These are things that other brothers and other communities have already done and are already doing. There are people who are specifically already building these things, who are already connected, who've already talked about these things. All I'm doing is I'm using said rhetoric, said language, in a way that conveys a message to the people who listen to me, who look to me, and who just so happen might not be tapped into those other sources, right? So let me start. I personally believe, now again, this is information I've gathered from other people, so this is the mine. This does not belong to me. This is just what I believe, though. I personally believe every brother over the age of 18 should be active in the community, to include little brothers, little sisters, some type of activity inside of the community. Not just basketball and football. That's great. Those are great things. Yes, we need basketball coaches. We need football coaches. There was a season in my life where I was a soccer coach. Okay? For maybe a good 2 years, I was a soccer coach. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't think athleticisms are the only schisms, okay? The only things we should be worried about, though. Should be the only things that we get active in. Also, too, church shouldn't be the only thing we get active in. We shouldn't just have brothers on the deacon board, okay? And we shouldn't just be involved when it come down to the men's cook-off, right? Like, we should be actively engaged in the community. I personally have a partner of mine. I do not know the name of their group in Montgomery. Shout out to you, Scoop. But their group, from time to time, go out and clean the neighborhoods up. They do other things, but I want to shout out them clean the neighborhoods up, because that is not a typical thing that happens all the time, right? But they do that. Moving on, I believe every brother over the age of 30 should be mentoring another brother. Let me unpack that. So, first off, I know someone is going to be saying, well, not every brother over 30 has something to add. I beg to differ. Whether he went to Harvard or he was in Pelican Bay, I believe every brother over 30 has something to add to the community. Specifically, the community of men we are trying to raise. Because the brother who went to Pelican Bay or Alcatraz or whatever prison system there is, he has a very unique skill that he had to develop while he was on the inside. Right? Most of us, I've never been locked up. I love to read, but my appetite for reading did not get developed until I was older. Like, generally speaking, I didn't become a reader how I am today until I was about 32. Speaking honestly. Excuse me. Most of the brothers I know who spent time locked away, that's all they do is read and play chess. They've spent a lot of time developing their mind, building their bodies up. Like, I know guys who have workout plans that rival the best personal trainers out here in the free world. I know guys whose minds are quicker in prison than most, I ain't gonna say most, that's a lie, that's a stretch, than some of the guys I know who are out here in the free world, because they're always reading, because they're always thinking of strategic things, dealing with chess and checkers and things like that, and playing cards and playing dominoes. So, like, these are guys who develop real skills that can be transferred and translated into the real world, that can be handed down to other brothers in the community. So, again, every brother over the age of 30 should be mentoring another brother, because there's always something to pass down. Moving on, every brother over the age of 50 should be mentoring mentors. I don't think this is up for debate. But if you want to tussle a little bit, okay, I can sprinkle a little razzle-dazzle into that. I mean, think about it as a church. Generally speaking, in a church function, and again, I am not a church man, okay? I go to church, love Jesus, love me some Jesus, but I don't understand all the rules and the regulations of church, but I do know this, right? I know in church you got deacons, you got elders, you got the pastor, and then above the pastor, you got the bishop. And generally speaking, the bishop's job is to set up different churches in different places. and he sends out different pastors to do different things, or to go to and administer to those different churches. I think that's the correct understanding I have. I mean, I could be wrong, and you all can correct me. I am not ashamed of being corrected. But I think a bishop's job is to, or an apostle's job, which is a lower level bishop, I think, right, is to send out other pastors and set up other churches. He's mentoring other younger pastors, or she's mentoring other younger pastors. So with that said, that's a level of authority or responsibility. That's the word. There's a level of responsibility that comes along when a brother reaches that 50-ish range. Like, generally speaking, he's in his grandfather years, his early grandfather years maybe. He's just hitting in his retirement age. Like, typically speaking, yes, in America we don't retire until we're 62. But of course, I'm military, so most of us retire from 37 on to 50. Like, those are our years we start retiring. Like, so yeah, he's within that window, or yeah, he's within that window. So, and he has a lot of game to give to, a lot of game and wisdom and knowledge to give to the brothers who are right there in mid-career level, right? Because mid-career, if you think about it in an age range, it's generally speaking in your 30s and your 40s is when you're like, I'm some type of mid-level manager, or maybe a senior manager or something like that. This is the application that I'm thinking from, right? So the first level is 18, every brother's doing it. It's an entry-level job. Every brother's in the community being active. At 30, every brother needs to be mentoring another brother. Okay? It's a mid-career job. 50, every brother needs to be mentoring the mentors. He is managing or directing the managers. Because the game he has received at this point, the things he has seen at this level are so different or so much that it's a waste if he's not sharing, right? Which brings me to my third skill. I'm not taking this out. My mind is getting ahead of, well, my tongue is getting ahead of my mind. So I'm not taking that out. I thought that was funny. Which brings me to why I believe this. I've discussed that part kind of already about how I've seen this notion from other men speaking, but also too, I wrote about it in my third book. Most of you all know or don't know, I have a book series called The Wandering King. This is The Wandering King 3, okay? And this one is titled A Letter for My Dogs. It's under my pen name. My pen name is RK Swan, okay? I do not go by Drake Swan when I write, nor do I put my real name. It's RK Swan, and it's my pen name. But I have a chapter in this book that goes to this. It's called Iron Sharpens Iron. It is about us getting into community and holding each other accountable, from the highest of high to the lowest of low. Like, we hold each other accountable. We build each other up. Like, that chapter is specifically about community amongst African American men in general, but African American men. And it gives different scenarios about how that's done. Yeah. Nice segue into read and read often. What does that mean? Well, everyone in community should have something to add to the community. Now, I'm not saying that people who don't have anything to add are a plague on the community. I want to specifically clean that up, okay? I want to specifically address that, because I'm not saying that at all. Because even the person who does not seem to have something to add most definitely have something to add, okay? And that is a discussion we can have at any time, just not today. But yeah, going on to say, I've said it earlier, being a football coach, being a basketball coach, all of that is cool. But everybody ain't gonna make it to the league, bro. Everybody ain't. Everybody's goal isn't to make it to the league, okay? I was about to let that Montgomery slip out of me, like you was about to hear real bad ain't. But yeah, everybody's goal isn't to be in the league. Some of us were destined to be accountants. Yep, that's me. Some of us were built to be engineers. Some of us are need to be carpenters. Some of us need to be honorable politicians, right? And how do we know this? Like, how do we know about these things? The information has to be passed along. I'm being completely honest here. Where I'm from, when I grew up, I did not know being an accountant was a real thing. And I mean, this is no dig or no slight at my educators. Where I came from, it's just none of them were accountants. Nobody where I was from was an accountant. I didn't grow up in a community of accountants. Everybody worked either as a nurse, LPN, a CNA, a teacher. There were factory workers. Like, these were the jobs around me. So I didn't have access to the educational level to know what was available to me. It wasn't until I joined the military and then came back home to know, like, honestly, I became an accountant off of me being arrogant, if you don't know the story. Like, literally, my counselor, my freshman year in college was like, so what do you want to major in? I asked her what's the hardest degree plan they had. Of course, accounting isn't gravely hard, but she looked at me as an accountant. Accountancy is the hardest thing we got. Bet that's what I want to do. Out of me being arrogant is how I became an accountant. But going back to the story, like, I didn't even know that was available to me my senior year in high school. Like, I didn't. So how do we get this level of information? We read. And what we do know, or what we already know, we pass along. And what we find out from others, we pass that along. From others, we pass that along as well. The next thing is we get active. I talked about that already, but I want to drill down into that, right? Again, getting active is more than just being a coach or attending social gatherings. It's more than just that. Being active is tutoring after school. Being active is attending workshops in the community, even if you do not necessarily need the skill, but you can pull another brother along who may need the skill or who may know someone who needs the skill. That's getting active. I personally believe in politics, and technically speaking, everyone should believe in politics because everyone is doing politics. I'm going to have a whole nother segment later on down the line specifically about politics, about how you are politics, even if you quote unquote are not doing politics, because there's a whole lot of miscommunication, misinformation when it comes down to that. Man, it's sickening yeah, it hurt my feelings, man. It hurt my heart. But in getting active, here's another example. On January 4th, here in Atlanta, there's a Black Male Agenda and Policy Summit being put on by Reverend Jamal Bryant, Gary Chambers, and Dr. Wes Bellamy, right here in Atlanta. You better believe I'm going to be in there. Because guess what they're covering, okay? They're going to cover economic empowerment, community building, what we're talking about right now, education, justice, and health policies. Like, that's literally everything we need. That covers everything. I mean, even health policy, when you think about Black men, we are the most plagued community when it comes down to high blood pressure and diabetes. What we talking about here? I mean, you look at me, I'm a 6'2" overweight Black man. Like, literally, I have high blood pressure, okay? I do not have diabetes, but I benefit from this. We all benefit from this. I don't know exactly who all the guest speakers are going to be there. I'm pretty sure they're going to have everyone who is a expert in those areas there. I got the agenda actually already emailed out to me. I decided to not share or cover that specifically here in this this video, but I think it was dope. I think it is dope. And I suggest every man who can attend should. And if you cannot attend, then I think you should get active in your community and organize one for yourself. You see what I did there? Yep. I ain't gonna be the dead horse. But hey, do your due diligence, bro. All right. Okay. That's it, man. That's all of that, right? I decided I was going to introduce something new into our discussions. It's going to be a did you know fact. A did you know fact, okay? And the very first did you know fact is the Baptist War, also known as the Christmas Rebellion. You know, today I'm recording this on December 27th, which is 2 days after Christmas. So I decided to go with something that was around Christmas time. The Baptist War, also known as the Christmas Rebellion, was an 11-day rebellion of 60,000 enslaved men and women in Jamaica. The planning and the organization of the revolt came from Samuel Daddy Sharp. It made me feel uncomfortable calling another man Daddy. But Samuel Daddy Sharp. The revolt started on December 27, 1831, and it ended the first week of January in 1832. I thought that was so interesting. I thought it was also so fitting, given what is going on in our world right now, here in the States, what's going on in most of our communities, the things we're talking about, because even if you're not engaging with me about this, I'm sure there's someone around you, there are like-minded people around you who are talking about these things, and there's something stirring up in the spirits, right? Like, there are people right now who are like, man, yeah, bop this, like, we need to do something about this. We need to do something. So, yeah, I suggest that. Not I suggest that, but that's my first did you know fact. Again, my tongue moving faster than my mind right now. My book suggestion of the week. I brought it up already. I showed you all this already, but it's my actual book. My very own book, the third installment to the Wandering King series, A Letter for My Dogs. As the title alludes, I wrote this speaking straight to my brothers. Young, old, big, small, it don't matter. I'm pretty sure there's something in here that will speak to every brother in every demographic, age group. It don't matter. Yeah, I'm really, really proud of this one. I put a lot of work into it. If you are looking to purchase this, you can get the paperback at my website, which is www.rkswanmedia.com, or you can get it from Amazon. It is also available in Kindle format. Also, it is available in audiobook format, and it is on all platforms, to include Audible, Spotify, and Apple. So there are no excuses. You can listen to me everywhere. Well, not necessarily me. The guy that I have narrating this is Edwin KoJo. Edwin E. KoJo. Love that guy, brother from Detroit. He's actually narrated all 3 of my books. As a matter of fact, for this specific series, if I keep it going, which I'm technically speaking working on the 4th book in this series, I plan on using him for every last one of them. His voice is very powerful, and he encapsulates exactly what I need to say perfectly. Excuse me. Also, there is a visual component to this book, okay? It is on YouTube. So there's everything. You have no excuse. If you want to read, you love reading, paperback on my website or Amazon, doesn't matter. My kids still eat. If you want to listen to the audiobook, every single platform there is, okay? Every platform there is, audiobook version, you can listen to it. There's a Kindle. At some point, I'm going to have the ebook version uploaded directly on my website, where you can download it directly from there. I'm working on that right now. I don't have it right now. And then, of course, there's a visual component, which it is uploaded directly to YouTube. You can consume it directly that way. Yeah, so there is no excuse. Come see me, man. Come support me, okay? Come support me, big dog. All right. That's going to bring us to the end. We about to wrap this thing up, so. Here's what I'm going to leave you with. It's time for us as black men to come together. It's time for us to pour into the young brothers, to build our communities, brick by brick. Hold each other accountable, have each other's back. Because unlike Cain, I am my brother's keeper. These are the actionable items I'm going to leave you with this week. Or I'm going to ask that you do this week, right? Get involved locally. That can be volunteering as a tutor at a middle school, or going and organizing an event for yourself, okay? Let me clean that up. I'm not taking it out because this is very, very real. Or going and organizing a community event yourself, okay? The next thing is find purpose to pass on, which can be passing along a book about an understanding you developed, an understanding of politics, or anything, or taking the kids to feed the unhoused. Pass purpose along. Help give meaning to life. And the third thing is calling a brother and discussing something deeper than just sports, music, and celebrity bank accounts. I look forward to catching up with y'all on the re-up. Shalom.